talking about experience homelessness at 19 years old with my firstborn. So we're gonna start with, at the age of 17, I came to New York City to live with my dad. But I ended up living with my grandmother at the time. So living with my grandmother and my family was very difficult. And I felt like ever since I came to New York, I had so much freedom because I felt locked in with my mother, living with my mom in Georgia. Like, don't get me wrong, like, I made my decisions because I felt like, you know, it was just too much. Like, you know, like, I felt like everybody was being a teenager. You see everybody having freedom and doing things. Like, I'm not gonna say I was a perfect child, because I wasn't the perfect child. But it's just like, you know, you do things and you learn from it, and you know, like, now that I know as a mom, trust me, like, I see exactly what my mom was trying to tell me, show me, and it was just for the best for me. But hey, things happen, you learn, you live. And so living with my grandparents, go back to that. I was outside, like, I had, not to say like outside, like being wild, but I felt like I had so much freedom because I didn't have that much freedom, you know, in Georgia. So I was outside, I was making friends, linking with people, and going out, like parties and stuff like that. So, like, you know, but back to homelessness. Yeah, it's a really tough situation for me to talk about, guys. Like, I'm trying to get my words together here because this is something that I really came far from. Like, I want you guys to really hear my story and understand how I am, who I am, and who I became as a person today. So this topic is really tough, like really, really tough. So please bear with me. But going from like partying and meeting people, being outside, and then, you know, my grandmother wasn't with none of that. Like, she, like, you're still young, you doing what you want, you know, and I still respected it, but me at the time, I didn't see as any big deal. Like, you know, I'll let her know that I'm going with my friends, like, you know, to the house, or I'm spending the night over, or whatever the case may be. And my first job I had was at Pizza Hut. A friend, you know, put me onto that, and I started working. So I guess she didn't realize that I was working. I don't think I ever explained to her that I was working. Not that I remember, but so yeah, I was working and in school, and then sometime came around, I got a job at Children's Place, and then Wingstop. So I was working 2 jobs, Children's Place and Wingstop. And you know, working hard. So around the summertime, I'll be like partying, going to like nightclubs and stuff like that. And that's how I met my child's father. And yeah, got pregnant, and I didn't know what to expect when I took that pregnancy test. Like, when I first found out, I was like, oh my god, this is the first time I ever got pregnant. What are my family gonna say? What is my mom gonna say? What is my dad gonna say? Like, I'm 19, I have so much ahead of me. But me, I don't believe in abortions. Like, I've never believed in abortions. So at the time, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna keep it. Like, you know, like, it was hard for me to keep it. And then not keep it because I was having so many people in my ears, my family, my sister. Like, everyone was like, you know what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? Like, you're still young. Like, you know, you're 19 and pregnant. You have a whole future ahead of you. You know, your whole life is gonna stop once you're pregnant. And I'm just like, you know, like, I had like a I don't care moment. Like, I'm gonna do this. I got this. Like, you know, like, if I gotta do this on my own, I'll do it on my own. That's the type of mindset that I had at that time. And, you know, and from there, I felt like, and when I took that pregnancy test, I hid it. And I think my grandmother found out. So I left before anything. So I left and I was just living with friends and friends, hopping house to house. And when I tell you guys, living with people, it would never work out. Like, hopping home to home is one of the most like toughest situations I've ever been in, literally, because I didn't live that life. I didn't have that, like, you know, experience of living with people, different people at like in little time. Like, one moment I'm staying with a friend this week, and then a couple days I'm with another friend, and I'm asking around, can I stay with you? I have nowhere to go, like, you know. And I've lost a lot of people in that situation because it's like sometimes this is like, you know, it doesn't work out. So I lived with a friend, you know, and that was just, that's another story time. But it didn't work out, and so I ended up having her really early. And when I had her, I stayed in the hospital for like 2 weeks. And they're looking at me like, oh, you don't have nowhere to go? Like, you know, should I call anybody? Like, you know, so I'm like, no, like, I do have somewhere to go. But I just feel like, you know, since she's so small, I, you know, don't know what to do. So they offered me to go to Path Shelter, which is in the Bronx. And I went literally the day that they discharged her. They gave me a cab service, and the cab service took me to the Bronx, the shelter. And I went into the shelter system, and you know, there's a long process where they have you eligible for 10 days, and you know, they looking and calling places that you've been at to see if you can stay there. And I've got denied plenty times. And I went to the shelter in a snowstorm. Like, when I tell you it was a whole snowstorm, the way that I felt, I'm like, oh man, like, I'm really like in a situation where it's just like, I have a preemie baby in a snowstorm, and it's just like, wow. So I stayed in the shelter for like 10 days, found uneligible in the same place, and then I was found eligible. So and that time, that shelter, horrible. I had to share a bathroom, and I hate sharing bathrooms with people, like, just hate it. But we had our own little room and to ourselves and stuff, and I met amazing people there. I left that shelter and I had to go to a different shelter. Like, I was going shelter to shelter, literally, because at the time my daughter developed asthma and she was always getting sick. And I don't know if it was because of the way that the shelter was, like, just like being in that environment with different other women and different kids and getting sick, like, you know, germs and all this other stuff. And plus she had asthma. So I was just going shelter to shelter, shelter to shelter, shelter to shelter, shelter to shelter, and that is just horrible. So I left the shelter to go live with a friend. I stayed with a friend, and that didn't work out, so I had to go back to the shelter, and it was just a lot. And I just want to tell you guys this. Yes, I know a lot of women out there right now are experiencing what I experienced, or being homeless with your child, or homeless pregnant, and you're going into a shelter. I advise, and when I say I advise, that living with people won't work out, especially pregnant. And like, I know a lot of people be like, oh, the shelters this, shelters that, but it helps. It helps because I got my first apartment in 2019, and I decided to go down to Niger because when I went down to Niger, I'm like, okay, these people in the shelters not helping me. I got a voucher, and it's nobody is taking this voucher right now, and it's hard to find apartments. I was working, so I'm like, you know what? I'm working. I'm in the shelter. First priority, they got half income, so let me go down to Niger and have Niger push my application up because I was on a waiting list already for like 3-4 years. So they pushed my application up, and then that's when I ended up living in Brownsville and got my first apartment when my daughter was at the age of 2. So I'm just saying, sort of all these girls out there that's pregnant or in the situation that I was in, go get your place. I mean, it's better than living with friends after friends after friends, you know. And you know, my kids are living good. I have an apartment, and I just feel like I've been I came a long way with my daughter, and she really don't remember any of it because she was a baby at the time. But it's like, I really came a long way with you, and I'm happy for the person that I'm becoming, and I'm happy to say that I did it for her. Like, and a lot of people don't know my story, but that's my story. Experiencing homelessness at the age of 19 and pregnant. And when I say that was a rough journey, that was a rough journey. Literally rough journey. And yeah, so thank you for watching this video, and I appreciate everybody that's watching and understanding. And if you have not yet, like, share, and subscribe to the video, and comment below.